Welcome to your weekly Social Jack Influence Factory. Introducing your coaches, Dean Delisle, Kate Hassett, and Jackson Delisle.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Well, welcome to another episode of Influence Factory. And man, it's almost, I can't believe summer's here already. It's crazy.
I know,
Yeah,
and
4th
we
of
have
July next week.
Yeah,
yeah,
4th of July. Yeah,
yeah.
crazy holiday. Yep. So Influence Factory, Kate, if people want to catch us on social, where do they go?
On Twitter, obviously, use the hashtag Influence Factory Got Influence. You already should be following us at Get Social Jack. And a little birdie told me that our guest today is going to answer all of your questions on Twitter. So make sure you get them in before and after the broadcast.
Oh, that's right. He said he would respond to any questions, and he's a data analytics expert. So that is like super duper duper cool. So real quick, I just want to welcome everybody from Chicago headquarters here. And don't forget, so you can learn more, maybe flip this little puppy upside down, turn it around, close your email, take some notes, and tune in, and you will definitely learn some cool stuff. Also, in the questions area of the GoToWebinar taskbar, this is where you ask your questions for us or for our guest that's on the show today. So please make sure you pay attention to that and ask away. This is your chance to ask the expert. So we want to make sure you get all your questions answered. And also, as Kate mentioned, as long as you're hashtagging, we have a lot of people that ask questions on Twitter. Join them, and we'll make sure we pick those out as well. So real quick, just type into test question here. Our test question because it's summer and I really like ice cream. What is your favorite ice cream? So what's your favorite ice cream? So it could be from anywhere. You can name a brand, doesn't matter. But what's your favorite ice cream? Kate, what's yours?
Mint chocolate chip, but not the green kind. I don't like the artificial flavorings, only the white kind.
Oh, I didn't even know they made white kind. Okay, we're gonna have to talk about that because
Breyers.
I like Breyers. Okay, okay. And Jackson,
Yes,
how about
to
you?
name drop.
Well, I'm lactose intolerant, but so it's hard to choose, but I would have to say Chunky Monkey by Ben and Jerry's.
I
So,
like Chunky Monkey too, but I'm a long time, I do like the recent one at Baskin Robbins that's chocolate peanut butter because it's got big hunks of peanut butter in there. Oh man, I'm gonna have to
Or
go
what
get some.
about the rolled ice cream places now where they like flatten it out, like roll it, and it's like a
oh,
Instagram worthy picture?
like Cold Stone?
No, like the rolls. Like there's a bunch of them in
Oh,
Chinatown. Of course, I'm new here, so I'm a tourist, so I go to Chinatown. But
it's probably been there for 30 years, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
wait,
probably.
I had that when I was a kid.
No, it's new. The rolled ice cream. Google it.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I've never had
all
that.
right,
Check
all
that
right,
out.
folks. Well, remember, if you have audio problems, you can click on switching between microphone and, or switch between computer audio and phone call so that you can actually, pick up the phone and take us on the road with you. You can also download the mobile app. And Jackson, if they, after the fact, where can they pick up the podcast and video it?
So the video will be on YouTube, and then the podcast will be on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and SoundCloud. And also, all of the links to those pages will be in the resource center at app.socialjack.com.
Oh, sure, for sure. Okay, cool. And don't forget to engage with us so that you can win some Starbucks gift cards today. So super cool stuff. Remember, Social Jack members, to jump in there. We have our new our event influencer marketing kit, toolkit. So we want to make sure if you missed out on that from our event influencer event a few weeks ago, was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
I don't know. They all blend together.
What? Okay, cool. So anyway, so you can download that and have enjoy that. We have all kinds of checklists in there, some of our secret sauce for influencer events. So make sure you jump in on that and take advantage of all that good stuff. Jackson always keeps those forms uploaded, and there are discount codes. So some free webcasts that are just been released, how to get qualified referrals with LinkedIn for business advisors. I know a lot of you advise other business owners and businesses, so this is good for you. July 12th at 2 p.m. Central Time. You'd go to social4advisors.com and social4m&a.com. Is an M&A game changer. We're going to show you how LinkedIn can help increase deal flow along with TiVo, which is a business scoring system. The Alliance Summer Conference is coming up already, July 17th to the 19th. And then we have Wealth Tech 2018, River North Business Builder Networking Event, NCIA's Cannabis Business Summit in San Jose, just some of the events that we're involved with here, and then Chicago Best and Brightest, and of course the SMS virtual event, and we have a blockchain virtual event. So please stay tuned on the socialjack.com site, and we have all these events listed. And now let's go to the news.
Influencer marketing is the trend and not going anywhere right now. So what this does is it's launching this week. It's a dashboard on Facebook, a tool that's going to show brands the most relevant influencers and allow them to make the connection. Actually connect right there on Facebook, talk, engage, like their stuff, and it's just really cool. This is like a manual thing that we've been helping clients, with just our manual scoring systems, and then influencer marketing tools have come out that are like really expensive. So I'm sure Facebook will put some kind of cost behind it at some point because it's a business, but right now the launch is free and it's really cool. One of my favorite things, the brands are going to be able to access data from the user's past collaborations. So basically, when you're looking at an influencer, you don't have to guess if they're working with other influencers or other brands, if they're talking to your competitors. You can see who they've worked with right there, and you can actually see the campaigns they've worked on. So that's really cool. It's doing a lot of the research for you, and I think it's an awesome tool.
Yeah, that's cool. So there's, it's Facebook calls it a brand collabs manager, right?
Yes, brand collabs manager.
I think this is very cool. It's such a great way to have, that we always have people come to us and go, how do I get an influencer and how do I know they're right for my brand? And Facebook is, really taking that step and facilitating the connection. And I think this is a great step for them to take, considering, everyone was about to drop Facebook a few months ago, and this is a really big and a great move for them. So
yeah, we also have one that I don't have pulled up, but maybe you guys can cover it quickly. 5 metrics for evaluating influencers and predicting ROI that most brands are not using.
Yeah, so I can cover that real quick. There's not any visuals that are really needed for that. So 5 metrics for evaluating influencers. So basically, this is a really cool article because it tells you the biggest flaw in finding an influencer for your brand. So when you're looking at it, a lot of people judge their influencers off of vanity metrics, which is like, this person has so many followers on Twitter,
Right.
so I need them to, and that's not always the case, because a lot of times, vanity metrics are the high follower counts, but the high follower counts can be made up of dummy accounts, abandoned or hacked accounts, and then people who are on the follow back chain, which is not a good thing to be on, as well as it's not. I mean, if you're
what is that? What does that mean?
If people will put in there, I don't see it as much as I used to, but it was like team follow back or hashtag follow back, and that it was basically saying, if you follow me, I'm definitely going to follow you back. And I mean, if you're not being at least a little genuine and authentic with who you're following and why you're following them, then there's no real point in it. You're not really going to build a good following off of people that are just on team follow back.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
hold on, but that's good too, because we were just having a conversation about that internally. So one of the things that we look at when we're asked to score influencers or look at folks is, are they really tending to their own account? Is it really them? And does the audience, what is the level of audience engagement? So we actually score on that. And if you have fake followers and you're just following, gathering a whole bunch of people, chances are
Buying them.
yeah, or buying them, your engagement score is going to be super low, and you're not going to get those opportunities, especially the paid ones. But unfortunately, we got to jump to a quick lesson and get John on the air here. But we'll send all these links out to everybody, and very, very good news. You guys always come up with the best stuff. I mean, I love this for myself because I learn along with the rest of the audience. So we have a lot of new people on with us today. So I'm going to ask a magic question here and jump into a lesson. So I want to know, are you a business influencer? Ready? Look at the blue screen and click on the answer. So you can click on the little flower on there if you can't find our screen. So we have 55. You guys are quick today. 55% of you are in. There you go. And 100% of you are influencers. So you are correct. So the cool thing is, remember that you're always an influencer. And if you are connected to us, we are always bringing you the latest and greatest influencer tools. So Lori says the following people are drove, so they follow you back, and then unfollow is another big one. Yeah, I know, I hate that too. I do not like that at all, Lori, so good call. So in this, if we, the lesson today, so I have this giant monitor. If you guys see me looking up, you'll see that I have this giant monitor, so, which is awesome. One of the things, we're going to be talking about analytics here in about 60 seconds, but I just want to make sure that everybody is mindful about paying attention to who is really looking at you and following you, and these are some of the most important metrics for your personal brand. So who's viewed your profile is often overlooked. So the number one thing is like looking at the profile, seeing if those followers and those people are good for you, making sure that you constantly get people to look at you, and are you reaching back and connecting with them? Are you having conversations with them? Remember, this is a big networking event. You really want to make sure that you're not just getting the numbers or the views, but you're doing something with that. So please make sure that you pay attention to your own numbers and then also views of your post. You want to make sure you really pay attention to that. Okay, and then with today's guest, I am super excited because we're talking about social media analytics, which you guys know I am a geeky freak about this stuff. So without further ado, we have Jon Chang. He's an award-winning digital growth and product marketing expert. He's a recognized global educator and keynote speaker. He's currently an adjunct faculty related around media and web analytics at New York University, and further demonstrates his passion for marketing by teaching at General Assembly. So Jon, without further ado, come on down. There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man, you moved.
I did, but I was testing this earlier and it looked like I was in a creepy warehouse. So this is way better. There's actual posters on my wall.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that today as I was looking. I'm like, I keep looking up like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it probably looks like, is there a fly in the room or something? But they put this giant monitor, so I've got you up on my wall here, and your at Changaroo is like ginormous, so it's right there.
Great, that's how I like it.
Yeah, right. So nothing like a billboard. So at least in Chicago at the Civic Opera House, you have a billboard here. So welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, so so of all these cool things that you're doing, it seems like, you're really big into, mentoring, I mean, that seems to be a huge theme going all the way back when we were talking. So many of us do mentoring, but I'm always curious, why? How did you get started with mentoring?
Yeah, so there's this inherent part of being in the New York City tech scene. And when I first joined, I was in the first WeWork building that was ever started. And they made all of these great community incentives and even programs such as I'll trade you copywriting if you teach me a little of coding. And so very informally, I started building my own career by being a mentee. And just, I mean, really, really early on, as soon as I had any kind of skill set to give someone else, I felt it was compelled to give it back in that sense. So it's a little hippy dippy, but that's how I got started. And then once I started cutting my teeth and getting some little more credibility, I got involved with Techstars, Chobani, and so forth in the mentorship sphere. But to me, all of it's just a spin-off of teaching, which I really love doing. Teaching is mentoring in a lot of ways. So I'm just trying to expand that.
Well, and that's how we met you at Social Media Strategy Summit. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I really like what this Jon guy has to say. And then Kate's like, I'll chase him down, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, she found you and here you are. So we appreciate you coming on to share with us. You also, you know, previously spent some time at Kickstarters. And I think for a lot of us in the world, it's one of those things where, you know, we always wonder, what's it like, you know, and because I think a lot of people still don't understand how to kickstart their own thing, you know. So give us a little bit about just what it was like to be in that world, and you know, maybe if you have anything to share with us, like advice wise or anything like that, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so I should actually just first say that I've recently left Kickstarter, so I'm not saying any opinions on behalf of the organization, just doing my due diligence here. Being at Kickstarter is great. It's a really wonderful place to work, and it has an amazing community as well as culture too. So I think there's definitely several ways to dissect your question, and one of them is zooming out a little bit and being part of the technology and the startup and these like big environments here, especially in crowdfunding. It's interesting being a marketer in that industry because there are so many people who like the product themselves, they're projects. So there are people doing the marketing for themselves, for their own projects, and this ultimately elevates the brand itself. So if you look at Indiegogo, if you look at Patreon, and just kind of generalizing across the industry, there's this part where should we really spend money or effort getting new leads or these like primary business metrics, or should we focus on improving the lives and the success rate of those starting the projects? And it was really similar at Stack Overflow, at General Assembly, at MakerBot, my previous experiences as well. It's these kind of dual-sided communities where the more you actually champion the user, the better all metrics end up rising. That's in theory, but it works in practice as well. So does that make sense overall?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it almost follows with our theme. You know, we do a lot of influencer development here, and we're like, well, if you humanize the brand and you bring the users to the top or to the forefront, you're going to have much better engagement metrics, and you know, it's actually going to affect the inside as well as the outside.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of organizations say that they do this kind of stuff, but it's a little fluffy. It's just,
sure.
I've had the opportunity to work at organizations such as Kickstarter, where the users are such a big part of the product. So it's really just product marketing at the end of the day, and helping them be better at marketing and helping them find their purpose and achieve their creativity.
Do you remember when sort of employee advocacy came out of the gate?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff.
So this is how we developed our influencer development program. Is we started helping to coach and train a lot of people that were, you know, being, you know, brand champions. You know, there's a lot of different words for them, but basically advocates. And we started watching all these big companies, these Fortune 500s, getting people to jump on social media and share stuff, and there was platforms for it and ways to push it out authentically and make it feel good. And then we started going to all the brand advocates that were watching, and these are big brands. I'm not going to name any of these, but they're big brands. And all of a sudden I'm watching, and I go back to their profiles and how they look, and the personal brand of the person that's the brand advocate looks terrible online. I mean, they had no good representation, you know. And so I don't know if you've seen that out there, but I'm like, hey, and then I started asking them, I go, so how would you rate your brand advocates in terms of their personal branding, from, just give me an A, B, C, D, F grade on them. Well, out of 150, we have about 12 A's, and 5 B's, and the rest are all C's and D's and F's. I go, well, don't you think you should do something about that?
Yeah, improve them, but then also I think that there's a weighting system too. So even if they have that C, what is their overall reach? So one of the things and this is back in the day, maybe like 2013, when I was first talking to Sprinkler, they were pitching Maker about their services. And it was one thing I really loved because Intel had just released their own training program for employees to respond to really anything in their subject matter expertise. And then Sprinkler had these features where it connects to your CMS, and then it gives employees a dashboard and opportunities to tweet about the brand, and it gives them the customer service metrics and all that kind of stuff. And to me, it pairs really well with this idea that there aren't that many people at your company working on social media. That's my assumption.
Right.
But there are a lot of people at your company that are on social media and perhaps could be extensions of your brand voice, as well as extensions of your actual campaigns too. Like activating your internal employees is something that I see a lot of organizations just lacking. And chances are you have someone, if you have the right culture, you have someone that's like dying to talk on behalf of the brand and answer these questions for people that you just like don't have time to or can't pay someone else to do it.
Right. No, it makes total sense. And so let's dig into, well, first of all, before we dig into analytics, I have to ask you, I love your Changaroo handle. So where did that come from?
Yeah, I was in high school and thought it was really, really funny. And then since then, just haven't left.
It's awesome. It's so catchy, and it's just, I don't know, it's fun, right? And so our audience thinks it's fun as well. So
Yeah.
with that, so in analytics, so you have a background and obviously teach in social media and web analytics because they go hand in hand, right? I mean, if you
Oh,
you have
absolutely.
to have some end game to what you're doing. So maybe help us understand in today's language and world, because I think this gets confusing. Even when I'm seeing our analytics reports, I go out, I'm like, we've got to slow down and explain some things because there's changing language and there's things that used to be, measured that aren't now. So maybe take us from like the web analytics part and then back us into the social piece.
Oh yeah, let's do it. I've been thinking a lot about this recently because I just signed on again to teach the fall semester of web analytics at New York University. So I'm revamping my curriculum, my lesson plans, and everything right now. And in thinking about that, I keep going back to the idea of properties and owned media. And to everything that you're saying, the terminology changes all the time, and there's synonyms everywhere. I think that's one reason why it's unnecessarily hard to learn digital marketing and analytics. Facebook's just deciding, well, we're also going to use the metric called a view, but it's going to be defined slightly differently, and all that kind of stuff. So the reason why I cited owned media and properties is because of the quantity of data that you get, specifically proprietary data. And I think that there's a fallacy in this idea of owned media because your own media might include your Facebook profile, or your Facebook page, your Twitter account, and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, Twitter owns all the data, and they share with you what they want to share with you. And that's why I think web and property analytics exists, because when someone goes to your website, to your domain or your app, you own all of that information without any of these restrictions. So you need both. It's a really tough game to play, but you absolutely need both of them. It's this own media aspect that just makes everything a little more complicated. But if you're going to plan on anything, I always try and get as much traffic as possible from social to the property, because that unlocks like cookie tracking, retargeting, all the things that GDPR now doesn't allow us to do.
Right.
But it unlocks all of this information about the user and all of this retargeting that you're allowed to do, that you can kind of do in each native platform, but not necessarily cross-platform unless they're going to your property. So web analytics, super important because of the way that you own your own data.
Yeah, what should we be looking at? That's always the part, because obviously if you read the standard web analytics report, it could be 30 pages, and it's like,
yeah.
What do you pay? It could be overwhelming. Well, it is overwhelming. So what do you pay attention to?
Well, the first thing, it really depends on the objective. So at General Assembly, we teach this thing called Objective First Framework, and we really like overteach it, to be honest. It's so helpful. But essentially, it, in my opinion, the way I explain is that it eliminates bickering at the end of a campaign because you set your objectives and your KPIs from the very start. And let's say you're using Google Analytics for web analytics. That's what you look at immediately. You set your KPIs within the Google Analytics platform, and then the second that you log in, the nanosecond actually that you log in, all that information is immediately populated, and that's like the anchor. Everything else stems from there. So let's say that this is a campaign for signups and it's not for direct like e-commerce conversion. So we would go into Google Analytics and see the sign up conversion metrics, and then assert whatever else we need. So let's say that you want to know how influential each channel is for that conversion metric. You take the anchor and then you create a table with all the referrals or the UTM codes and all that kind of stuff. Right. So let's say instead you want to see which partners are performing the best. You use the affiliate feature, but you're still using that same hook in that context there. So I think it simplifies everything. You can get terabytes of data from your web analytics platform, but chances are you only need megabytes at the very most for each report. And I think that's where people get confused, and oftentimes just because they aren't using that anchor of their original objective.
Yeah, so I know that you know, abandon rates and things like that used to be, you know, so there was this whole thing about visitors, new visitors and things like that. So maybe take us like, what are if there like, what would be the top 5 things to look at if we're looking at a web analytics report?
Oh, let's go through it. All right. Well, my favorite metric, and I take this because like I think it's also Avinash Kaushik's favorite metric. He's a chief digital marketing evangelist at Google, and it's bounce rate. So bounce rate is my favorite metric. But then also, and we'll go. So I have more than 5. The reason why I love bounce rate, and this is how I fell in love with web analytics as a start, is that Avinash Kaushik in his videos, his teaching, and his books, he describes it as someone visits, they puke, and they leave. Because they're either completely the wrong person or it's a horrible web experience. Perhaps the page loads slowly and all that kind of stuff. Right. And it's one of the only web analytics metrics that has a benchmark, which is approximately 30%. So if more than 30% of the traffic is like puking then leaving, you got a problem. Right. So bounce rate is the first thing to look at. And the final reason why I really love it is because it's directional data to me. And I define directional data slightly differently than like the data scientists in the crowd, but this is information that helps me then set up the next test. Bounce rate, given that there's only really 2 reasons why people bounce, there is something wrong with your page or it's the wrong person. You can just dissect each of those independently and run really short tests and start to get deep insights from there. So that's why I look at it first and foremost.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and Google Analytics for your website is free, right? Still.
Yes, until you exceed 10 million monthly data points, and then they start sampling your data.
Well, if you're doing that, then you unless you have like a 99% bounce rate, you should be okay.
Well, it used to be 20 million a few years ago, and now they halved it. And then I think enterprise starts at $160,000 a year. So
wow,
it's a great tool. I mean, I'm not here like as evangelist for Google Analytics. I just use it a lot. But yeah, it's a great tool. It's free to start, and until, like you said, like once you max that out, you got the cash to go invest in something else anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. So then is and I guess it all depends on the business, right? So one of the things I always like to look at is certain interior pages to see are people spending time on there. So I would always look at how much time would they spend on the page. Is that still something worth looking at?
Depends on the page. So one of the like pop quizzes I always give my students is that I give them a list of metrics, and then they give me examples of when it's good and bad for each metric to have a high number and a low number. So for example, time spent on a page. On a blog post, great. It helps us understand that the user is actually reading through the blog post, especially if you don't have like the parallax scroll metrics input. And however, if it's a checkout page, then time on page should be drastically lower, because the action items should be so easy to get to that they aren't spending minutes on the page. And that's where, like with Ticketmaster, historically they've revamped their checkout page at this, or the checkout process at this point. That was my main example for horrible checkout process, but showing that really the importance of getting time on page to the lowest number possible. Like they have the timer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's and I was just thinking as you were saying that, I was like, well, maybe if they have a long time, if they're spending a long time on the page, you put them to sleep. So you had your other instance where people were puking, so but the idea too is that maybe people just like moved on to another tab or something.
Well, and this is a calculation that Google Analytics, for example, doesn't give by default, but I like doing, and it's taking the average pages per session and the average session duration and finding the ratio there. Because oftentimes people look at those two metrics independently. They're like, people saw a whole bunch of pages. Or they're like, someone was on here for a very long time. But what you kind of want to figure out is, given the pages they're looking at, a blog post, a checkout process, or whatever, on average, how much time are they spending per page instead?
Yeah.
Especially ecom, when like someone's going to a PDP and you want to know on average how much time are they actually spending on these different PDPs as an indication of user journey, user types, and then you can do like cohort analysis from there.
What's a PDP?
Product details page. Yes, great. So let me know when I'm over jargoning. It is just another plight of the marketer.
Yeah, we just and Shirley was going, this sounds a little bit Greek to me, but I love the energy, so she's sticking with this. Let's switch to social, because most everybody on here can relate to social. I just always like to start with the end game. And so in social, one of the things that we do is we create tracking links so that we can actually track things. And sometimes it feels excessive to me, but I'm always happy when I see the reports that come off of it. So it's like, well, we have a tracking link for paid Facebook, for organic Facebook. We have one for LinkedIn, paid and organic. We have tracking links that are for email, drop 1, 2, and 3, and so so what's your whole feeling on, too much, too little on tracking links? And
it's time versus effort overall, but I think I'm a little biased, but having more data is always better for me, especially historically. I've been in situations where I wished that 6 months ago I had used more tags so that I could do better analysis. And that's as granular as the placement of the link within the email. So let's say it's 3 different links. Is it the first link, the second link, or the third link? Is it at the very top or the very bottom, the header, the footer? And it's like, it gets so granular. And to your point, if you're spending, I don't really know what the threshold might be for your organization, but let's just say you're spending more time than you're actually getting back for analysis, then it's not worth it. However, if you can automate this stuff, which like Buffer, Google AdWords and so forth, they do that. That's your like mark of excellence. Google AdWords gives you gives you campaign tags on the term level, so which keywords you're actually bidding on, and then you're able to analyze by that. Where doing it by hand would be a huge pain, but now that I'm able to analyze and splice insights based on the actual keywords I'm bidding on, I feel like it's so valuable. So with all that kind of stuff, I err on the side of overdoing it rather than underdoing it. Especially because, like, let's say that you leave the organization, hand the keys off to someone else, you like absolutely want them to be set for success. So one thing at General Assembly, they named their campaigns after hurricanes, and it was very hard for me to understand which hurricanes were for like which actual campaigns. And it's great and whimsical, and it shows that you can do so much stuff with campaign tags, but it did not allow for the depth of analysis as like I'd wanted to.
Well, I know Kate and Jackson are laughing in the background because Joe was adamant about we have to be better at naming our links, in analytics. He was like, please. So we came up with this whole naming convention based on the client, the campaign, the type, and it actually is paying off, because now when we look at it, we're like, oh, okay, that makes total sense now. But you're right.
Generally, just ask yourself, do you need to understand the independent value of blank? And if it's a variable for a test, a partner, a referral, like a social media site, whatever it is, like if you can over time, if you have that pulse and that instinct to know, then it gets pretty simple. It's like, okay, we definitely need to measure this later.
Yeah, for sure. And we do deal with a lot of partners, and they do ask us, and it's good that they're asking us, and they'll say, let us know how good this does. Like, like for our event marketing toolkit, some of our marketing partners want to put that out, they think it's valuable. And so we're like, okay, we'll drive them to this page, and they're like, can you track? And so we'll hand out a new tracking link to that partner. So when they use it, we know that it's working from that partner.
I'll post a template to my blog after this. The one thing that I use is just like the Excel concatenate, I can never say it properly, function. And so I actually made this for one of my Kickstarter direct reports before because the UTM strings and the query strings are just so long. So I was like, okay, you can copy and paste a lot of the same information across these cells, and then it'll automatically join everything together using the.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's one basic Excel function, it's a template, and it'll save you a lot of time. I don't know why I haven't published it already. I'll go do that right after this.
Awesome. No, I love it. And then, and of course, you can tell from our platform, people love tools. So, man, where's the time going already?
I know, seriously.
I know. So a question from Twitter: how often should you look at organic social media analytics? Is it imperative to every day?
I don't know.
Well, let's say
if
you're a business owner, you're an analytics person, so yes, you have to do it every day. But so, like, let's say you own a business or a smaller practice or a mid-sized company. How often should you look at organic?
It really depends on the size of your program. So, I mean, you can be a big company or small company, but you can be like really, can I say swears on here? I was going to say kicking ass. I'll say it anyway.
Yeah,
I already
say it
said
anyway. Yeah.
So,
that was too late.
It's way too late. So, I mean, if you're really kicking ass on social, then this is a way I usually splice it. You're going to want to look at the end of any campaign anyway, so that dictates frequency and timing. And then depending if you're posting every single day, you're going to want to do weekly roundups. So that dictates at least every week. And then if you are aggressively trying to get new followers, and like I was tuning in earlier about the whole follow back and stuff like that.
Right.
If you're actively trying to look at your follower growth and churn, then that's almost a daily stat. So that's where I don't think you really need to obsess over it, but if your program is much larger, then it's got to be daily. Even if it's smaller, then you're going to want to do weekly roundups. And if you aren't posting more than once a week, then you're also just doing something wrong. So do that first, then do a weekly roundup.
Right. Yeah, that's super cool. So so when you're looking at social, what are some of the most important data points or metrics that you're looking at?
It's overall engagement with content. So I think that the industry itself is moving towards live content, rich videos, and then even if it's text, a lot of text is very inviting for conversations. So it's additional engagement metrics as well. So I'm always in favor of either having one-on-one dialogues with users or like with other, with followers, whatever, like Twitter users, let's say, and then in addition to that, sharing rich content. So on the rich content side, you're looking at view duration. And then on the engagement side, you are looking at like the length of the thread. And both of those to me are important because it also helps with this like notoriously hard to track and hard to game trending thing on every social media platform, which to me is just mass times velocity. You need a whole bunch of people to take a heavy engaged action at the same time, and then you will become trending. I did this as just an experiment with 100 people in the room. I was attending this like journalism conference, and so this guy who was presenting created a new hashtag. We all posted it and liked that one post and became #2 trending in the US. I mean, it lasted for a minute, but it showed the power of this kind of stuff where a like or a favorite is definitely not weighted the same as someone who actually comments or views more than, I think it's like 2.4 seconds of a video. So they're really forcing us into sweat equity and having real authentic conversations. So something else you touched on earlier, this authenticity. And the second thing is actually making not horrible videos, which is still most social media videos. So if you're looking to kind of like game that system,
except for Social Jack.
Yeah, except no, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely except for the Social Jack. So I look at those. I look at those primarily because that really helps me out. And on Facebook, the share is worth more than anything else. And so I look at whether or not people are actively sharing, because that's like it's not necessarily exponential, but I'll just say it colloquially. It's like an exponential growth of your post.
Yeah. So then when you're looking at that, when you're looking at those analytics, how can you tell what to do differently?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, you should be running tests, and that will give you the information. And then this is where it goes into not necessarily the weekly roundup, but the campaign wrap-ups. So first of all, everyone should do some sort of thematic social media content, such as Throwback Thursdays are super old, but whatever it is that trains your audience to expect valuable content at the same time every single week. Once you do that, you'll be able to start getting trend lines. And I think that's one of the, when people don't do that, it makes it a lot harder to find insights with your social media organic performance, because you're doing one-off things, and it's really hard to make a correlation or a trend there. However, when you're doing the same themes week over week or day over day, then you can see dips and like ebbs and flows and dips or peaks and valleys of these performances. And then layering on top, testing on top of that, if you are boosting or supplementing with advertisements, then just seeing which variation won. Let's say you are using 2 forms of copy. It's very straightforward which one has won, and then you just start doing more of that kind of stuff.
Right. Lori's saying there's so many terms that she has to Google, but she loves
so sorry. So I mean, I think a lot of it, and this is why I use thematic content. It's really just like, what's the thing that you're going to name and do every single week? At MakerBot, it was even just like tips and tricks every Monday, and we just knew that was going to work. And then every Tuesday, we knew that K-12 teachers were going to be online, so we're going to go do content just for K-12 teachers on Tuesdays. And
yes.
And then it was also helped us not freak out as much, because when there is a dip, it was like, oh wait, school just ended, or like the school year just ended, or something seasonal just ended. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So then let's see. Shirley was just asking, what's your favorite social media platform?
As in tool, or like the actual channel?
The actual channel for you.
I really like Instagram. And then I'm a fan of Twitter for marketing purposes. It's really more conceptually. Okay, I'll dissect 3 just really quickly. Yeah. Instagram's great. I just find it highly addictive for my millennial narcissism. I like it. I like that they are always trying new features, and I think just looking at stories and how that took over against Snapchat is a testament to how great they are.
Wow,
just trying things. I know, and it happens so quickly too.
Did you see the new chat feature in there too, so you can chat while you're posting and while you're viewing?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, just released yesterday. So you can actually chat in Instagram, a video chat with your friends while you're browsing Instagram.
Oh, awesome! Yeah,
I know.
And then there's Instagram TV.
Right.
I mean, they just launched a dating platform, and everyone scoffs, but they launched I think one of my friends who's a product manager took a look at this, and every year Facebook launches approximately 7 times as many features as its competitors, and people always laugh at the ones that fail, but I mean, look at what they're doing. They find the one that wins, even though it's a lower success rate, and they kill it at it. And I think Instagram, stories and everything that you're talking about is primary examples of this.
Yeah, Lori asked real quick, just because you brought up IGTV, is there any tips on analytics for that? Or how to look at it?
No, Instagram, first of all, itself is just not great in terms of measuring things. It's just it goes into their business model. They're gating a lot of the metrics. They made it so hard to integrate with the API for so long to actually get the information that you need. For IGTV specifically, I think that it's super interesting because we're adopting a lot of the same entertainment metrics as before. So it's just total amount. So you want total reach, but then also the total amount of viewers for different durations. And then after that, you're looking at churn rate at specific times as well, because you're trying to optimize your content. So let's say 3 minutes in, you start talking about dogs and everyone leaves because they're cat lovers or something like that. So that's kind of how I would splice it. At what points are they dropping off, and what were you talking about at that time? And then what was your overall reach? Because essentially, if your reach, you should just increase the total percentage that engage until the end, like depending on the reach. But it's really simple. It's really basic right now.
Right. So, so in the 2 minutes that we have left, I just got the cue. So, so you mentioned a couple different platforms. So, what else? What other? Name one other platform, and you know why.
I used to say Pinterest, but instead I'll say YouTube. YouTube they're just taking off. Oh man, YouTube Music, YouTube Live. They do product really well. And it's like, speaking about influencers, I think that they really just got it early on. They realized, and now they have a whole creator and educational portal just for the YouTube creators. I found out once you hit 10 million subscribers, they send you a diamond. It's in the shape of a play, but yeah, I had to like triple check it to make sure it was true. So yeah, once you hit 10 million subscribers, they send you a diamond in the YouTube like play logo. That's like more of an anecdote, but I think that in terms of finding valuable content and being engaged over and over and over again, they are diversifying the product features and product sets so much, and then using that solid base of influencers they've developed over the last like half decade to make the content that no one else has. It's really useful. In terms of marketing, I mean, they're valuing the community over marketing currently. So I think that it'll catch up, and it's just smart. They're going to create the content and the product and then layer the marketing on top of it.
Wow, that's cool. So just so you know, our audience is asking if we can have you back, because they could listen to some of this stuff all day. So maybe later in the year, after you know, we meet on our next cycle of social media conferences, you know, maybe maybe we can jump on and do another piece on this, because I think it's different for everybody and it constantly changes. So, there's that struggle of what do we pay attention to? And then now that we're at this point, what do we pay attention to? So I think that's a sort of a struggle. And you mentioned your blog. So if people do want to get to your blog, we know Changaroo on Twitter, and that'll probably get us to everything else. But where can we find your blog?
You can just go to jonchang.co, and it has recordings of lessons that I've taught. So there's a 2-hour social media lesson for people who are starting so it's like on the screen right there, who are starting their first social media programs. But if you use the hashtag for this event, so if you use Influence Factory, the hashtag, and then mention me, I will answer your questions any time of day, all year. So just make sure to use the hashtag and make sure to tag me.
Yeah, that's huge, man. So, watch out. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'll be blogging. I'll be Jon. So, but I'll quote you, so that's the good part. But
do it.
It's like I always learn. It's like I pick up so many nuggets, and Shirley's like, wow, thanks, Jon. So, but the idea here is, I know Jimmy Z wants, while we have 60 seconds left, we never finished the top 5 metrics, and he just let it go. So I think we have to serve him and let him know what were the top 5 metrics.
Well, while explaining, could you please click on content on my site? There might be like it'll help like show like what resources might be available for people. So I've go-to-market strategies here and so forth. Additional metrics that I like. Okay, so we've kind of gone through some as well, like pages per session, session duration. So bounce rate is my favorite. After that, I really like going to the user behavior flow and figuring out where the drop-offs are. So specifically, drop-offs per page. And to me, why that is important, it identifies bottlenecks in the user journey, and then I can just make tests to correct that. And then the third one is based, if you're e-com specifically, I mean, really for any funnel, it's abandonment rate. So Mixpanel, Google Analytics, all of these tools all have checkout processes or checkout flows, and you can figure out exactly which part people are dropping off and sort it by new visitors versus returning visitors as well. And to me, that's it's very similar to like the second metric that I cited, the drop off for bottlenecks, but the new versus returning specifically in this checkout process helps us better understand, are we conveying our brand story correctly? Because by the time that they get here, we should actually be able to get them we should have such a strong brand affinity that new visitors, that returning visitors should have a significantly higher completion rate. And if not, it's a red flag for your brand advertising and your messaging.
Wow, yeah, that's super cool. And then we're going to give everybody links to Jon's sites here, and then we will have another wraparound session. So Kate, make note of that. And we just put up on the screen here. I know sometimes people want access to certain classes and certain programs that we offer with our event programs or our influencer development programs and things like that. So we'll leave that up for 10 more seconds, and let's bring back Jackson and Kate here so we can wrap up. And we have some prize winners. We always give out engagement prize winners, Jon, because the secret to successful social or being an influencer, at the end of the day, you mentioned it probably at least 10 times, is engagement, right? So so
at
we
least
like
10
to
times.
yeah, right. We love to reward those people. So Jackson, quick learn, 30 seconds. What'd you learn?
So many things. Just I can't narrow it down. I really can't. Like,
Kate,
I could have listened to him talk forever. Kate,
go.
Kate.
I'm not doing enough analytics, obviously. I'm not doing it often enough. But I want to ask while we have you, one thing we forgot to ask is, who are the influencers that you follow?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I think the normal ones, there's like Larry Kim, so in the marketing world, Larry Kim, Avnish Kaushik, and oh my gosh, Rand Fishkin. Those are just 3 people who write a lot of great content. But then for like search engine marketing, I really like Jenny Marvin. She is so dope at writing about like the latest trends on SEO and AdWords. So there's 4 right there. Scott Galloway, I mean, NYU all the way. Scott Galloway is just such a baller. Yeah. If you haven't checked out his recent book, I would definitely do that. And if you just want like a quick YouTube intro to him, just search Scott Galloway and the 4 Horsemen. He'll blow your mind.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Do you know Chris Barrows from NYU?
No, I don't.
We'll have to connect you up. He's got a great
Please
podcast too. Yeah, he's got a great podcast too. So as well. And I just had up on the screen there that Mike O'Neill, LinkedIn Sales Navigator Guru, he's my go-to for that, will be on with us. Not next week. Remember, it's a holiday here in the U.S., Independence Day. And so we're going to take a little bit of a break next week, and then we'll be right back on. But with that being said, so Jackson, who's our winner?
It's her first time back in a couple episodes, and Shirley Miller.
Yeah, good. Woo, Shirley.
Go Shirley.
Kate, what about on Twitter?
On Twitter, we have Ryan Allen. He's somebody that follows Jon, so we snagged him from your network.
Oh, perfect.
Well, then he gets so they get a Starbucks gift card. And our only rule is that you, when you meet somebody for that cup of coffee, is that you discuss something that you learned or that inspired you from the program. So it's that simple. And so you'll get email today from Jackson, and he'll send you a nice Starbucks gift card, and take somebody out and have some face-to-face quality eyeball-to-eyeball time with somebody, so that you can build those relationships and sort of keep the magical world going around of human to human interaction, right, Jon?
Oh yeah, there's nothing more important.
Right. So man, we loved having you on. I know, yeah, right. So it's like AI, and the AI allows you to spend some more time with humans too. So like so the machines, there's all balance in the world. It's all good.
Yeah.
So we loved having you on. Amazing. So and again, we've got to have you back, because people can't dig into enough analytics. Everybody was chiming in here now what they're going to go work on. So thanks to you, we all have a little bit more work to do, but we'll be smarter because of it. So
love it.
Good stuff, man. So good. Well, we'll see you at the next conference for sure. And we'll definitely see you online. And we're all going to take you up on that offer for helping and asking questions and things like that. So especially us here on the team.
Anytime.
Well, thanks for having us on today, and from all of us here at Social Jack headquarters, we appreciate you, and we'll look forward to seeing more of you online and other places. So,
Perfect. Thank
all
you
right.
all.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.